Mr. President, it's a historic day for our country and for the United States Senate and for the Congress. As we speak at this very moment, the President of the United States is about to sign the bill we passed on the floor of the Senate last night, the agreement on the conference report on one of the largest tax reform in the history of our country, certainly the largest since 1986. It's historic in many other ways because we're fighting wars overseas, we're dealing with terrorism, we're looking at the economic climate for the future and trying to inspire our country to be better and be everything it can be. We're talking about all those types of things, and we're getting ready for Christmas. We're busy about lots of things, but you know, there's one thing you should never be too busy to do, and that's pause and stop and say thank you. Thank you to someone or some entity or some institution that has made a difference in your life or the life of your country. Now, I don't often come down here on points of personal privilege. I do it, but I don't often do it. When I do it, it's special for me, and I think it's hopefully special for the people I'm talking about. A good friend of mine is retiring from the Southern Company in the next few months. His name is Jim McCool. Now, most of you probably don't know Jim McCool. Jim's one of those people some people refer to as lobbyist, others refer to as professional advocate. I refer to him as my good friend. I met him in the 1980s. He had started his own formalware business, sold that business, went to work for Mississippi Power. It's later one of the Southern Company companies. Later worked as a liaison to Washington for Southern Power, for Southern Company, and for Georgia Power, for Mississippi Power, for Alabama Power. I got to know Jim over lots of ways. First of all, when I was in the State Senate and the State House in Georgia. And on the industry committee, worked on issues dealing with electric utilities. I didn't know anything about those. I was a real estate broker. My knowledge of electricity was when I threw that switch, I wanted it to come on. Once we got beyond that, I didn't have a knowledge about it. But Jim was one of those people that didn't just come and say, this is my company's position, we want you to do it. He said, what is it about my company's position that I can help explain for you to make a decision? He never, ever asked me to do anything for him or anyone. He always offered to give me the information I needed to make the decision for me. That's not a rarity in that profession, but it's certainly something the average person doesn't think of when you hear of lobbyist or professional advocate. But Jim McCool is, has been, and for me always will be, very special. He takes his job seriously, his company seriously, and his country seriously. Jim and his wife, Kathy, raised 3 great sons. They're proud of their dad. He's proud of them. And I've seen him in enough situations with his family to know his family comes first with Jim McCool. Golf, unlike what most people think, is not first, it's only second. Southern Company's third. I've played a lot of golf with Jim McCool, too, and that's why I put that in there. But over the years, I've worked with Jim on many, many projects. Right now, we're working on nuclear production tax credit addition to the tax extenders bill, which hopefully will pass the United States Congress within the next 2 weeks after the 1st of January. To continue the construction and the completion of Units 3 and 4 at Plant Vogtle in Georgia. For me, ironically, this is such a special moment because I worked on Vogtle 1 and 2 when they were built in the early 1980s, and Jim was then an advocate for, at that time, Mississippi Power, later joining the Southern Company team. So Jim and I have watched the Plant Vogtle go from a dream and an aspiration for the Southern Company to a reality in terms of Units 1 and 2. And if we get our work done here soon, Units 3 and 4 will be online. And for a long time after Jim McCool's gone and I'm gone and all of y'all are gone, Georgians will have reliable, safe energy from a renewable source called nuclear, and will continue to be a pioneer and leader in the southern United States. So when I heard Jim was retiring, obviously I knew it was a special moment for him and his family, and I wish him all the best, and I know he's going to do great. But I started thinking back all those times we worked on all those issues that had such an impact on his job and his employer, and for me, my state, and his state. Jim never wavered in his commitment to doing the best job he could possibly do and always representing the best interest of his company, never losing the best interest of those that were served by his company, his customers. So on this day today, when the President of the United States signs a major sweeping tax reform, we approach Christmas and a special holiday for all families. I rise to the floor of the United States Senate to take note of Jim McCool from the state of Mississippi, employee of the Southern Company, professional advocate, father of 3, husband to a great lady. Jim McCain, he's gone the long way down the long road, and he's done it with style, with class, and he's delivered every single time. Washington doesn't have a better advocate working in this town than Jim McCool, and we're going to miss him, but I'm going to get to play a lot more golf with him in the years ahead because he's going to have more free time than he's got right now. So I wish Jim and his family the best. I thank him for all he's done for us as Georgians. And, Mr. President, I yield back and note the absence of a quorum.